In a narrow street of a crowded town, there stood a tiny grocery shop with faded blue walls and a broken wooden board hanging above the entrance. Most people passed by without even noticing it. But for one family, that small shop was the center of hope, sacrifice, and survival. Inside the shop worked a man named Rahim. He was not rich, educated, or powerful. He was just a simple shop worker who spent his entire life standing behind a counter from sunrise until late at night. His hands were rough from lifting heavy boxes, his clothes smelled of dust and tea leaves, and his face always carried the tiredness of endless hard work. Rahim had 3 children and a loving wife. Their home was small with cracked walls and an old fan that barely worked during the hot summers. Sometimes electricity disappeared for hours, and sometimes there was not enough money to buy proper food. But even during the hardest days, Rahim never allowed his children to sleep hungry. Every morning before sunrise, he quietly woke up, offered prayers, drank plain tea, and walked to the shop. Rain, heat, cold, or sickness, nothing stopped him. The shop owner often made him work extra hours without extra pay. Still, Rahim never complained because he knew one thing very clearly: my children will live a better life than mine. But life outside their home was painful. Their relatives constantly insulted them. At weddings and family gatherings, people looked down on Rahim because he worked in a small shop instead of owning a business. Some relatives wore expensive clothes and showed off their money while secretly making fun of Rahim's family. One uncle would laugh and say, "Shop workers never become successful. Their children usually remain poor too." Another relative once said in front of everyone, "Why spend money on their education? They will eventually work in shops just like their father." Those words cut deep into the hearts of Rahim's children. The children noticed how people treated them differently. Rich cousins were praised for small achievements, while Rahim's children were ignored even after working hard in school. During family dinners, they often sat quietly in corners while others discussed expensive cars, businesses, and foreign trips. Sometimes the children cried silently at night. The eldest son, Ayan, once asked his mother, "Why do people treat us like we are less important?" His mother smiled sadly and replied, "Because the world respects money before it respects struggle." Those words stayed in Ayan's heart forever. Despite all the insults, Rahim remained calm. He never fought with relatives. He never answered hatred with hatred. Instead, he continued working harder every single day. There were nights when Rahim returned home with swollen feet because he had been standing for 16 hours straight. Some days, he skipped lunch just to save money for his children. School books. He repaired old shoes instead of buying new ones. He wore the same faded clothes for years. But whenever his children apologized for being a burden, he smiled and said, "You are not my burden. You are my dream." Those words became the strength of the entire family. As years passed, the financial problems became even worse. School fees increased, rent increased, food prices increased. Sometimes, Rahim had to borrow money just to survive the month. Relatives used these moments to insult them even more. One day during a wedding ceremony, a wealthy cousin mocked Rahim openly. He said, "Why do you bring your children to expensive functions when you cannot even afford proper clothes?" Everyone laughed. Ayan felt fire burning inside his chest. He wanted to respond angrily, but his father gently held his hand and whispered, "Silence is stronger than arguments. One day your success will answer them." That night, Ayan could not sleep. For the first time in his life, he saw tears in his father's eyes. Not because of poverty, not because of exhaustion, but because someone had insulted his children. From that moment, Ayan made a promise to himself. "No matter how hard life becomes, I will make my father proud." After that day, the children began studying with greater determination. They stopped wasting time. While other children played games, they focused on books and learning. They knew their father was sacrificing everything for them. Rahim noticed this change. Even after working all day, he sat beside his children at night, encouraging them to continue studying. Though he himself was not highly educated, he understood the value of education better than many rich people. Whenever his children felt hopeless, he repeated the same sentence, "Hard times do not last forever." Years passed slowly. Ayan completed school with excellent marks, but college fees were impossible for the family to afford. For a moment, it seemed like all dreams would end there. Relatives again started their cruel comments. One aunt said, "They should stop dreaming so big, poor. People should live according to their level." Another person added, "Education is for rich families, not for people struggling to pay bills." But Rahim refused to give up. Without telling anyone, he sold the only piece of jewelry his wife owned and paid Ayan's admission fee. When Ayan discovered this, tears filled his eyes. He looked at his father and asked, "Why do you sacrifice so much for us?" Rahim smiled gently and answered, "Because I know what it feels like when dreams die." Those words became a turning point in Ayan's life. College life was not easy. Ayan studied during the day and worked part-time at night. Sometimes he slept only 3 hours. Sometimes he walked long distances because he could not afford transport. But every time he felt tired, he remembered his father standing in that tiny shop for 16 hours. And suddenly his own struggles felt smaller. Back at home, Rahim continued working despite growing older and weaker. His hair turned grey, wrinkles covered his face. His back often hurt badly, but he never rested. People still mocked him. Some relatives still believed his family would never succeed. But slowly destiny began changing. Ayan graduated with top honors and got a job in a respected company. The day he received his first salary, he ran home with tears in his eyes. He placed the money into his father's hands and said, "This belongs to you." Rahim stared silently at the money. Then tears rolled down his cheeks. For years he had hidden his pain behind smiles. For years he had suffered humiliation silently, and now for the first time he felt that his sacrifices had meaning. That evening the family ate. Dinner together, happily. It was a simple meal, but it felt like a royal feast. Soon life started improving little by little. The younger children also worked hard and succeeded in their studies. One became a teacher, another entered the medical field. Slowly the family moved from a broken house into a better home. Neighbors who once ignored them now respected them. Relatives who once insulted them suddenly changed their behavior. The same people who had laughed at Rahim now praised him proudly in front of others. One uncle even said Rahim always believed in his children. Look how successful they became. But Ayan never forgot the past. He remembered every insult, every mocking laugh, every moment his father returned home exhausted. One day during another family gathering, a relative asked Rahim proudly, "How did you raise such successful children?" Rahim looked at his children quietly before answering, "I gave them what money cannot buy: sacrifice, patience, and honesty." The room became silent, because everyone knew the truth. Rahim had won a battle far greater than poverty. He had protected his family's dignity. Years later, Ayan bought a beautiful new shop for his father. It was bigger, cleaner, and located in a busy market. On the opening day, many relatives arrived carrying gifts and smiles. But Rahim remained humble. He welcomed everyone kindly without reminding them of the past. That was the greatness of his character. As the ceremony ended, Ayan looked at his father standing proudly inside the new shop. For a moment, memories rushed back into his mind. The tiny old shop, the torn clothes, the insults, the tears, the sleepless nights, and suddenly he realized something important. His father had never truly been poor. A poor man is someone without courage, kindness, or dreams. But Rahim possessed all three. One evening while sitting together outside the shop, Ayan asked his father, "Did the insults from people never hurt you?" Rahim smiled softly. "They hurt a lot," he admitted, "but I was never afraid of hard work. I was only afraid that my children might lose hope." Ayan held his father's hand tightly. "You gave us strength," he said. Rahim looked toward the sky and replied, "No, you children gave my struggle meaning." As time passed, people in the town began respecting. Rahim's deeply young fathers visited him for advice. Shopkeepers admired his honesty. Children listened carefully whenever he spoke, not because he became rich, but because he proved that dignity does not come from wealth. It comes from sacrifice. Rahim's story slowly became an inspiration for many families struggling with poverty and insults from society. People realized something important after watching his journey. Never laugh at someone fighting hard battles silently, because today's struggling man may become tomorrow's greatest success story. And sometimes the strongest fathers are not the ones driving expensive cars or living in giant houses. Sometimes the strongest fathers are the ones standing quietly inside small shops, sacrificing their entire lives just to build a brighter future for their children. In the end, Rahim's children achieved success not only because they studied hard, but because they witnessed real courage every single day inside their own home. Their father taught them that respect is earned through patience, that pain can become power, and that even the smallest shop can produce the biggest dreams. The world once looked down upon them, but one father's determination changed everything forever.